Go, Priscilla.
I'm here.
You are live.
Are we? Okay. Oh, you said I should go ahead?
Go ahead, Priscilla. You are live.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone, our guests and viewers. Welcome to a new day. Wow. On this first day of May 2002. Happy new month to all of us. So we're going to be starting conversation on a new day with the intention of contributing to shift in mindset and attitude. On this program, we're going to be discussing gender equality, or refer to it as gender justice in our society, as well as sexual gender-based violence. We're going to be identifying root causes and seeking ways to address that and other related issues. We're going to be finding ways to harness healthy and generally acceptable traditional values, systems, and practices, and also healthy religious values and practices, as well as other practical global values and systems for women and girls' rights. We hope that such conversations will contribute to change in our perceptions, in our attitude about women and girls' human rights, and lead to a shift in our culture of impunity. Hence, a new day on Focus on Liberia. For our conversation today, we have the following persons: Assistant Minister Memena Gay, Ministry of Justice. Correct me, Madam Assistant Minister, if I didn't say your name right. Um, Councillor Isaac George, Director, Sexual Gender-Based Violence Crimes Unit, Minister of Justice. And we may have two others joining us later, but for now, we have two of our guests in studio. And I had asked for your bio so that I could introduce you. But I think you will do a better job of introducing yourself. So I'm going to allow you to do that, beginning with um, the way I say your name. So, Madam Assistant Minister, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself properly.
Well, my name is Mamina Golonka Gay, and
So I
I
did
am the
say,
Assistant Minister for Children and Social Protection at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And I want to say it's a pleasure being here, and thanks so much to the team on Focus on Liberia for inviting us here to talk about these issues that affect us and society. Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Isaac George, you want to go ahead? I think you are muted. Yeah, I think you're okay now.
I'm okay.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I'm Councillor Isaac L. Judge Jr. I am the director of the Sexual Gender-Based Crimes Unit, Ministry of Justice. And basically, we focus on gender issues, sexual gender-based violence, and gender in its entirety. And so often people may think only it's about females or women, but it encompasses men as well as boys. And so basically, I've been at that ministry at that unit for about 2 years plus now. But prior to my ascendancy to that office, I served as county attorney for my Gibi County, and I have been focused on sexual issues for a long time now. So thank you for the program. I'm elated to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time. So we will have started by
Hey, you,
just
blessing.
going back
I need a
on a
program here.
few.
Let's go. You go get out. Let's go. Do something.
Chancellor, are you with us? So
I'm sorry.
we were going into this by just giving a little throwback to our viewers um from a few years ago. Um there were calls from the public, but I think before the public joined or the general public really got involved, the women of Liberia had a sustained a year or two of protest crying out, "We are unprotected." And because there was, it seemed like there was this increase, and I'm saying same because I'm not really sure whether we have accurate data. Counselor, maybe you can help us with that later on as we go in the conversation. But so it's like because of social media, these issues were becoming more visible. So there was public outrage, and then the rest of the population joined, the women, the students from the university, from high school, and from across the country. It's safe to assume because I saw protests happening in the counties. I'm not sure whether it was all the counties, but it came to a point where it took almost every sector of our society. There were representatives of the Liberia Council of Churches. I remember seeing Reverend um, Portu Brown in one of those protests. So after all of those things, we got to the point where in September of 2000, the government of Liberia declared rape a national emergency. Um, and then there were, some good measures that were announced to tackle this issue. I want us to look at those, to talk about those measures today. So after the state of emergency was declared, the government announced measures, including that the government was allocating $2 million to address the issue, designating specific prosecutor to handle rape cases, setting up national sex offender registry, or whatever that means. I know you can better explain that. Creating a national security task force or interministerial task force. My question, or I continue to wonder, um, what are the tangible, measurable, um, I guess, shift or change that have happened since those measures were put in place? If I would like first to begin with the Assistant Minister for Gender. Since rape was declared an emergency issue, what has happened? So maybe we should begin with the National Action Plan for the State of Emergency. What has happened? What are the tangible and corresponding action which we can relate to this National Action Plan for the State of Emergency? You want to go? Madam Assistant Minister, if you want to go. Minister, can you hear me? It looks like you're frozen. Looks like the minister is frozen, so maybe we should. Do you want to jump in, Councillor George?
Well, okay. Basically, as you stated earlier, that the state of emergency stating that uh, rape was a national emergency per se, and as such, there were basic things put into place so as to minimize the occurrences. But do I do not have the actual data on hand, but just within that time, we observed that there was a decrease in the number of occurrences when it comes to rape and sexual offenses. But then sometimes this year we've seen an increment or an increase in the number of cases. But there were basic things that were planned to have been done, and gradually we are getting there. The government promised that they would give $2 million, and of which portion of that money has been disbursed already. The institutions that are focused on executing the mandate are fully aware that they received their share. And for us at the Ministry of Justice, we were able to purchase motorbikes. We were able to get a car for the women and children. We were able to get computers for the people in the counties. And so that's where we are. For other institutions like gender, if the minister would join us soon, gender also bought cars. Right now, they have the car that is responding to the occurrences of rape or whatever intervention they have. I mean, so more like it is a gradual process. We all know that actually we don't want to support or give an excuse, but the government is challenged. That's part of the challenges we are proceeding in order to minimize, if not eradicate, the occurrences of sexual gender-based violence. You spoke about the sex registry that has been put into place. We have had conversation, and procedurally, we have to go back to records from the code because the intended purpose is actually to get those persons who have been convicted and have served their sentence so that their names are published. So we have this sex registry. But we were looking at the legal implication also that there are persons, despite they've been convicted, notwithstanding they have asked the court for an appeal. So based on that, we cannot categorically say that we can have those names placed based on the fact that they still have a forum for redress, which is at the Supreme Court to determine as to whether they are guilty or not guilty, pending the outcome. So those persons have to be selected and placed one side. So the process is ongoing right now. We are having the conversation with the court, likewise with the gender ministry. And we are hoping that sooner or later they understand from the minister, the assistant minister of gender the other day, that the money will be dispersed so that we can find a vendor who's going to prepare this board for us, electronic board, and it's going to start within Montserrat, and thereafter we take it to other counties. So that is ongoing. We also, as you said, the issue of having a special prosecutor for gender issues when it comes to sexual gender-based violence, that also was actually tipped. But then we were looking at the fact that you have the sexual gender-based crimes unit already, and the sexual gender-based crimes unit is fully and focused on prosecuting and cases of rape and other sexual violence. So we were like looking at it and starting to see whether the sexual gender-based crimes unit maintains that mandate, and then we proceed from there. So that also has been discussed. But all in all, what I like to say to the public, as I've often said, is that rape or the occurrences of rape may not be that it is on the increase. It is the fact that people are educated and aware that they've been violated, trying to compare it to the past. So based on that, there are more cases reported than ever before because people are becoming very much aware and cognizant of the fact that things they never thought were injurious to their well-being, things that they did not think that was inimical to their well-being. Now they understand that these actions perpetrated against them now are violence against their persons. So based on that, people are reporting. So I like people to understand also that it is good for more cases to come out, because the more cases we have coming out, it tells us that indeed the people themselves are now believing in the system and that they believe that there is a forum for redress. But years, that was never possible. So we have tried to juxtapose the two. Is increased number of cases reported, depict that there are more rape cases, or rape cases have been ongoing for the past 30, 50 years, But now that people understand that it is a violence against their body and person, and so they are reporting, and that they have a forum for redress that they can trust, and they know that when they get there, they will have attention, which is happening now. As I said in other platforms, today we have more than 300 plus persons behind bars just within Montserrado County for rape. In Liberia as a whole, we may have about 500 to 600 persons behind bars for rape, of which we have some convicts. So it tells you that if you were to compare that to before 2006 or prior to 2006, when you may not have found one person behind bars for rape, are we saying that before 2005 rape never occurred? No, it did occur. But the fact that at the time, the people did not have trust in the system and they did not believe that there was a forum for redress. Today, they have trust in the system. And so, based on that, there are more cases reported.
Okay, thank you, Councillor George, for providing such information. And that's why it's good to have this kind of conversation so that from time to time we are able to, provide feedbacks to the public about what's obtaining. Let me just pause there and welcome uh, Mr. Johnny K. Debbie. Welcome, Mr. Johnny. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself? The minister is back. Johnny, you want to go ahead and
Can,
introduce yourself?
Yeah, okay.
can you
We
hear
can hear
me?
you. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Council. I'm sorry.
All right. Good evening, good morning. Based on your location, like Priscilla said, I am Johnny KM Debe. I work currently with the Carter Center, but let me be quick to say that whatever we'll be discussing here is not something that is sanctioned by the Carter Center. This is just a matter of service to community. So we agree to appear on this show to provide our own insight relevant to the subject matter. And let me quickly say also that I'm sorry that I joined you late. I just had a side event that got to me around 4 o'clock. One of my junior brothers was involved in a motorcycle accident last night, and none of us knew where he was until just around 3 o'clock we identified that he was involved in an accident. We went to the funeral home, to JFK to be able to identify his body. So that is why I had to join you this late. Because, however, I had to be committed to this call because I promised to be here. So I've done some part with the family activities. I've come to join you. And after here, I will return to the family while we're discussing the rest of the details leading to his burial. So thank you. And I'm happy to be here on the show.
Our
My
deepest
brother,
sympathy.
yeah, I'm happy to be here with my brother Isaac and the minister from I think from Gender.
Yes, yes.
All right.
So, Johnny, as Councillor George just said, our condolence for the loss of your brother. Sorry, and thank you for your commitment to be a part of this conversation uh, uh, today. But yeah, sorry from the FOL family and the Noonday community. We're sorry for the loss of your brother. The councillor had just gone ahead and responded to the question about what can we point out that is the difference that has been recorded since the state of emergency was declared by the government of Liberia. So, Johnny, before I come to you with a question, let me just do a follow up with the council. I was going to go to the assistant minister, but she's lost again. So, I'm going to do a follow up to you, Councillor George. Uh, Part of the calls that were made by civil society organizations and the general public was to strengthen the judicial system because we have a weak, or it's often said that our judicial system is weak, under resourced, and I know you mentioned that there are a few logistics like vehicles and motorbike that were bought. Um, but then there is also the case of that enforcers or people, the human capital within the system is poorly trained when it comes to the issue we're discussing, um, SGBB issue. So I don't know what has been done in that area to assure the public that something is happening there, and we expect to have a relief in the next 2 or 3 years. We expect to have a noonday. Um, so how is it like? How is it like? Some of the things was, I think, for police to engage with the community, and you mentioned the issue of people not being aware, which is true. Sometimes people become victim by ignorance. So how is the police engaging with the community, and how is public service being done from the from your side of dealing with this issue?
Okay, the fact is that the judiciary is an embodiment of actors, and you have the judge, you have the public defenders, you have the prosecutors. And so more like there have been workshops held, those supported by our partners, those
There
supported
have
by
been.
our partners, UNDP, UNICEF, UN Women, but that has complemented the effort of government's objective. And so with that, we've informed our prosecutors, likewise our public defense counsel, that as they place case on the docket or for assignment, they should prioritize rape cases, because the fact is, under our laws, we have crimes that are higher to that of rape. Like murder is a capital offense under our laws. But the fact that we have the president slash the government has declared rape as a national emergency, so it means that assignment of cases by courts, they've been informed that you prioritize rape cases. So that is one that has actually helped in terms of expediting the prosecution of cases. But besides that, as I said earlier, workshop, which actually help to educate those who are actors within the judicial system. And police have often had workshop. Just recently, we had a workshop in Grand Bassa that was sponsored by UNDP, complementing government effort, and that encompassed police, nurses, prosecutors, judges, and so forth. So that is being done. As I said earlier, the enormity of the challenges are huge, but the fact is that gradually we are getting there. And every time I say this, that every time we hear that there are cases being reported, I think we should have a mindset that it is positive. It is positive. But if we have a mindset that it is negative because cases are reported, then people may refrain from reporting cases. Are we satisfied that cases are not reported yet? They are being done. They are being perpetrated. I said no. So the more we educate the public, like we are planning right now. We have, if you were to go to hospitals, you'll find that there are a lot of juveniles who are impregnated and they visit these hospitals. So we have not been capturing most of them, based on the fact that they go there and say, they do not want persecution and so forth. But we need to capture those areas. And if we were to capture, we have more cases reported. But then if we do again and it scares them from going to hospital, it becomes a complicated issue also for us. So we are caught between the rock and a hard place. But what I always say is that the more cases reported, it demonstrates that indeed people are becoming aware and educated. And with that, it should be seen as a positive result instead of a negative result. So basically, the judicial system, as I said, as you asked, we are gradually moving there. People have been more educated about rape. The prosecutors, the judicial actors are being informed that they should prioritize rape cases in terms of prosecution of cases. So gradually, we are getting there, and I think that's one of the areas we are achieving our goal.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Minister Gay is back on. So, Assistant Minister Gay, do you want to go back to the question we started with, and then you went off for a while. So, my question at the beginning was that since the government declared rape or national state of emergency, there was a national action plan for this. What are the tangible and corresponding actions which we can relate to our national action plan for the state of emergency? What has the state of
Yes, I
emergency
think I'm facing no, fine.
I'm sorry. So, what has the state of emergency achieved? What difference has it made on the lives of the public when why women are still crying or being unprotected? Are there any change that we can measure, any significant difference, any data that's existing for us to measure success or progress or be aware of the need for improvement or revisiting the process? Those are the questions that I have for you. I don't know whether we still have you there. Can you hear me? Madam Minister, can you hear me? Okay. So while we wait for the minister, she seems to be having some challenges with connectivity issue. Then Johnny, let me go
Yeah.
to you. Uh, Minister, are you okay? Do you want me to move on to Johnny? I'll come back to you. Let me check with Johnny. So Johnny, before I ask you this question, let me just make something clear that I want us to talk about women and girls. It seems to me that we've normalized sexual gender-based violence, so our society
Um,
has become desensitized to rape to the extent that we
uh,
we got to the place of child
uh,
sexual
state
abuse.
of emergency.
Madam Minister, can we can we get back to you? I was trying to provide some
Uh,
basic. Your connectivity is poor. We're not getting you. So I was saying we became so desensitized that we actually started responding. Most of our society started responding when we came to child sexual abuse before people began to pay attention. So it seems to me that SGBV is synonymous, if not completely subsumed, by child sexual abuse. Rape seems not to evoke any serious response as compared to statutory rape, or especially child sexual abuse. And I think that it minimizes, if not completely effaces, a whole population of human beings who are affected by sexual gender-based violence and rape, especially women. I know that there are other people, but people who are disproportionately affected by this issue are women. And so I want us to try as much as possible to talk about. We most times have the tendency of just, subsuming women issue with child sexual abuse issue or other cases where men can be raped, which is genuinely true. So having that in mind, let's try to address our conversation around this group of people. So Johnny, um the other time I was listening, to another conversation that you were part of, and I got intrigued, and I wanted to share with us here. Um, Harmful traditional practices, most times they have been identified as contributing factors that disadvantaged women and girls, and that violence against women is perpetrated through traditional interferences. But you have this really insightful perspective on healthy traditional values concerning the treatment of women and girls. So what would you propose? Because you propose that bringing customary practitioner and Western concept practitioner together to work through the issue of SGBV. Can you share your perspective on harmful traditional practices which we could work around, and healthy traditional practices which we could incorporate in our fight against SGBV?
All right. Thank you, Priscilla. Uh, Firstly, let me try to conceptualize what I'm understanding from you regarding SGBV and customary and Western, concept about SGBV. Um, one thing I see as a problem first is that in the Liberian context, many of the Liberian policy makers do not seem to understand the Liberian society, Liberian cultural issues. They tend to just like borrow the concept from out there, from some literature, from written by some European or somebody else, and try to like enforce it on society. I'm not
You mean
I'm
on
not saying
the
here that,
side?
yeah, of course, I'm not saying here that our way of life as Africans or as Liberians or people in the cosmology setting is 100% perfect. No, every society has deviance. I mean, it has deviant behavior, has some wrong practices. That society itself will realize that this practice is not good, and we ourselves will realize that we should transform these practice into a more kind of human, acceptable society, acceptable way of life. But in the case where it begins to appear like we try to enforce some borrowed idea, some foreign idea, then
And
we
completely
begin to have,
eradicate our, I'm
yeah,
sorry, go
we
ahead.
begin to have an issue of trying to just condemn, one sector of society. And for Liberia, Liberia is kind of like entirely customary. Everything we do has to do with our way of life, our culture. Even in Monrovia, the most urban part of Liberia, you see people settle in certain communities based on their tribal affiliation, based on their cultural part, their cultural values. Go to Monrovia, go to West Point, go to Claratown, go to Jalata, go to Satan, even come in Pinsville, Comanche community. You will see in certain community a group of ethnic people living in one community, even though they are not within their original home, but they have come along with their way of life and it's still being practiced among themselves in urban Monrovia or urban Liberia. So I'm saying the issue of rape should not just be a matter of making law or making laws. It should be a matter of discussing what do we know as rape within our own cultural context. How can we all work around this issue to punish or to eradicate or to stop the practice of rape? That's one aspect. Rape is just one aspect of the gender-based violence. But there are other issues, right? There are other issues, you know. And first thing, what do we see? I mean, how do we understand gender issue within the context of our society? Because largely, I still be corrected, but in Liberia, almost the whole population is entirely customary. Entirely customary. So we cannot do away with our customs when we are talking about our laws. We're talking about making laws. Now, for example, a few years back, our government passed a law, the new rape law. I think that at this time, the legislature and those policymakers should now start reviewing the rape law and looking at the current realities we have. Is the rape law helping to curtail rape, or is it benefiting society because people are reporting more rape cases, or what's the intent for the rape cases being reported? For example, my brother Isaac and during our last conversation make some very important points. Not just because somebody is accused of rape, that means rape was committed. His agency has a responsibility to do an investigation in the matter. Why, if his agency does investigation and does not see any element of rape within the context of the criminal justice system, and then his agency says, no, this matter, I would not see any reason why we should prosecute the matter. Then the public say, oh, the government agency did not prosecute the matter because the person raped. So what's the intent for reporting rape? That's why we should be studying some issues. What is the intent of those that are reporting rape issues to the Justice Ministry or to the agency responsible? Is it because actual rape really occur or for other reasons? So, I mean, the alarming report on rape, the incidents of rape in the country should be reviewed thoroughly by agencies responsible, Gender Ministry, the gender-based violence crime unit and Ministry of Justice that my brother Isaac is heading. We need to do all this review to see what's happening. Other than that, we just keep making some kind of news that will just put our country at the negative end of all these things. Because people out there knowing what rape is and just hear like, oh, Labrador this year reported 300 cases of rape. When that goes out, no one cares to know what are the intents, what are the details on this matter. So I want to also advise that before even report on these issues, let's do thorough investigation, thorough understanding, because everything that we say about our country, if it is good, it goes good for us. If it is bad, it goes bad for us. You understand? So we need to understand this issue. So for me, I'm always concerned about the issue of rape. I'm a father of many boys and girls. You understand? Gender issue, I gave all the children the same opportunity to go to school, the same force I apply on them to learn, to go to study, because I want all of them to be equally educated. One of the issues we have with gender issue is that we need to try to see how we can encourage our girls to stay in school from the age of 14. If you see that some report that says that from 0 to 14 or 13, between 13 and 14 years, the ratio of boys and girls in school is almost equal. Sometimes even girls are more. But then we realize that at age 14, 15, 16, you go to the classroom from maybe around the class of 9th grade, 10, 11, 12 grade. There when now you see more boys in the class and less girls in the classroom. What's happening? Why is it that from 9th grade to 12th grade, we got more boys in the class than girls? And then from 1st grade to 9th grade, we got a kind of equal balance of boys and girls. And sometimes girls are more than the boys. But then at the senior level of the high school level, secondary level, the girls are less. These are issues that we should be looking at the national level. Our people at the policy making level should be looking at this issue to address gender-based violence, gender inequality. Because most of the issue again, our sisters also again, is because they are at the very marginal level, marginal point of the economy. They have low income making. Look, this morning I had a very difficult experience walking through the Painsville market ground. I was going to Parker Pain. And I saw these guys dressed in black uniform, we call them Marketing Association police officers. They were trying to raid the women that were selling on the Sunday of the market. And I stood and watched these young guys, man, and like harassing the women. And what were they really selling? Few bitter balls, few okra, just for the Sunday to have something to eat for the Sunday, in my view. And I'm looking, and in the market, there are more women there selling than men. So women are also the ones that are actually working to become breadwinners for families. So this is, for me, this is a real national issue that we should look at as a country. We should set as a country, gender ministry, all agencies responsible for this kind of issue to look at the issues of women issues. It should not just be lip service. It should not just be talking about it on the show like this. Talking about it here is important, but we need to have a national discourse and take a national decision to see how our female counterparts can have some level of economic empowerment. And I really believe that if our sisters, our female counterparts have some level of economic empowerment, the issue of gender-based violence will be minimized. But until then, I see it as a serious challenge. So let me stop. If I responded to your question, I hope I responded to your question, or I went away. I don't really know, but I just spoke, on the issues based on my passion for this kind of matters.
Thank you, Jenny. I think you did. From what I gather from your response is that yes, rape is an SGBV issue, and that rape is very important. Or also is but there are factors that make rape possible, right? Um, the economic disparity, and then I think you alluded to the issue of harassment in school, or that's what I gather from there, because we're going to have later on, we're going to have people from or someone from the Ministry of Education also as we go along with this program in months to come to talk about how the government and the partners and Councillor Josh mentioned that indicated that government is working, but sometimes through other partners. So we're going to check with Ministry of Education, how are they working? in the ministry to make sure that some of the issues you raise are addressed. Why, for instance, why are girls in school at a certain age, then from 14 or at high school level, they are absent? It could just be, uh, it's highly likely the report that been coming out is that girls are harassed a lot at school. There is an issue about sex for grade. So it's on the level that girls have to drop out of school if they cannot, because that is just psychological. You cannot have one population just can't find a healthy place to advance themselves in schools. Recently, the AFL president that was just appointed, she enumerated most of those issues. So that is one aspect I got from what you said. That let's tackle this whole LGBT issue from every angle as a nation, uh, because our context may be unique in some way. Uh, uh, so when we're copying or borrowing from international or global framework, we should try to contextualize. That's what I gathered from that. If that was not the case, maybe you can come back and clarify. But I think that's what I got from your response.
Yeah, thank you. I think you did well. That was exactly the idea I tried to portray in my presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So before I come back to the part two of the conversation, is the minister back on? No, the minister isn't back on. Is that her? Okay. Dennis, are you there with me?
I'm here. The minister is not on.
Okay. Um,
She really having difficulty. She keep
she
coming in
is.
and dropping off.
Yeah, she is. We're almost gone an hour. Do you want to check on comments or questions if someone has before I go to my other list of questions? If there is none, we can just take a break while I check in with the minister, or someone say watching a need is essential. It seems that there's no question. Someone said this is important. Very, very important. How is rape defined in Liberia? Okay, how is rape defined in Liberia? Councillor George will define that for us. Okay, do you want me to read it? Okay, so please go tell the gender minister. Tell the gender minister what? Who should start the discussion? Tell the general minister who should discuss and start a discussion. I think that's what that person means to say. Thank you, Dennis. Councillor George, you want to respond to the question about how is rape defined? I don't know whether it was meant for you or it was meant for Johnny because of something he said. Is rape defined in Liberia? So any of you can respond to that. The councillor may respond to it from a legalistic point of view. Johnny indicated that customary may not be the same. A perspective may be different from quote unquote Western concept. So, councillor, you want to go ahead and tell us what is the definition of rape? I would think that it's supposed to be universal, but maybe there are differences. So go ahead and tell us. You are muted, Councillor. Councillor George. Okay.
Can you hear me?
You just came on now.
Okay. So under our Liberian law, chapter 14.70, it defines rape categorically. It says rape is forceful penetration of the anus, the mouth, vagina, or any other opening of a male or female without the person's consent. So that has to do with adults. If you are an adult and somebody forces you to have sex without your consent through the vagina, the anus, the mouth, or any other opening with the penis, that is rape under our law. And then it goes further to say that if a male or female intentionally penetrates the vagina, anus, mouth, or any other opening with a foreign object, without the consent of the victim, that is also rape. It goes further to say that if the actor is 18 and the victim is less than 18, with consent or without consent, it is rape. And that's where we have actually most of the issues. So it means that if the boy is 18 years old and the girl is 17 years, 364 days old, and they have sexual intercourse, despite it may be consensual, the girl agreed, but the fact that she's below 18,
Can you
she
join
may
us,
be
please?
1 day short of 18, she may be an hour short of 18, she may be 2 minutes or a minute short of 18. That is rape. And then we have the fourth category, which has to do with gang rape. It says that whoever purposely facilitate the commission of the crime of rape is guilty of gang rape, 2 or more persons. And these are issues because we have had these issues where sometimes a mother or father is placed behind bars along with a son because the mother has the home or the father is the host of the home, and then the son comes with a girl who is 17 years, and the mother doesn't say anything, and the boy has sexual intercourse with this girl, and the mother was fully in the know, she will be charged also with gang rape. Likewise, the father. So these are different categories. Now, if you intoxicate a person, that is rape. If you threaten the person, to compel or coerce them to have sex, that is rape. So we have so many circumstances that may lead to the crime of rape within our Liberian jurisprudence. But like you said, in other jurisdiction, the age may be lower. Like in Guinea next door, the age of consent is 15. In Liberia, before 2005, 2006, our age of consent was 16. So based on the changes made, we have more cases now than ever before. Like in the past, before the new rape law, rape with, I mean, if someone is below 16 and she has consensual sex with a person who is 16 and above, that person may be charged with what we call corruption of minor instead of rape. But this new rape law has encompassed all the other elements into one. And so this time, whether the person consents or not, when the person is below 18, once the person is below 18. So interestingly, I always give you the example. If the boy turns 18 today, he becomes 18 today, and tomorrow the girl becomes 18. So meaning that they just have a day between. But today they have sex, and despite whether it was consent or not, without consent, the fact that, I mean, once it was done with consent, it doesn't still change the narrative. It doesn't change the circumstance that he would be charged with statutory rape. So he's just a day older than the girl, and they consented to have sex, but the case is reported, and so he's to be tried on the basis of statutory rape, and it is tantamount to life imprisonment under our laws.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think to some extent exhausted on definition of rape. Johnny, before you come in, let me get it. The assistant minister, so that we don't lose her again. So, assistant minister, should I go back over the question, or you ready to respond to question? Hello? Yeah, man. So do you remember the question? What are the tangible corresponding actions which we can relate to our national action plan for the state of emergency? Because women are still crying unprotected. So why can we, what are the measurable differences or change? Are there any data existing for us to measure successes, progress, or be aware of the need for improvement for or revisiting the process? In other words, we had the roadmap to address SGBV and reduce it by 30%. Am I mistaken, or is that it? By 2023. How far are we? Are there any data that exist? Oh. Johnny, you want to tell us when you were talking about, let's be careful not to just import everything Western. We have our own way of doing things. What do you think is rape has a cultural component? What's about our tribal men marrying underage girls? Okay, the minister is, go ahead, Madam Minister. No, this is not working. Johnny, go ahead. Tell us, what do you think is rape?
So, from my experience, because I don't know if there's any literature or any work that has been done on Liberian culture with reference to identifying, some kind of having some kind of empirical document on our, social culture or context. But from my experience growing up in my own environment in Lofa, um, and what I was taught in my, traditional school is that first thing is that no man should force a woman into a sexual relationship. No man should force a woman into a sexual relationship. And another part also is that no man should beat on a woman in gathering or disgrace a woman in gathering. On
Okay.
grounds that you and a woman can have disagreement at home, you and your wife can have disagreement in the home, you can have like quarrel in the home, that's not an issue. But when to go to the extent that you will violently beat on her, and disgrace her, I mean beat her to the point where it becomes a serious issue, they have punishment for you. So I'm just telling you that the customs have regulations. They have issues with violence against women, not just issue of rape. But in the matter of rape, like I said initially, no woman, I mean, no man should force a woman into forceful sex. None at
Mhm.
all. If a woman complains, if a situation or some incident is announced that this man forced a woman into sex, and it's proven, what I know culturally, that man has a serious problem in that society, in that community.
So Johnny, can
That's
I
why,
jump quick?
yeah.
So then why now are we having problem that why now is it being said that traditional practices interferes with um prov- protecting women against this kind of act?
Now, you see, this is where I've always said we have come to the point in this country to just entirely do away with our own way of life. So currently, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether not just this government, previous government, whether we have ever had a time to say, look, that's why if you can recall way back, we had the interior regulation. Our forefathers had a very good relationship with those that came from the US as the free slaves and those they interacted with here. They had a system where they had to accommodate each other in a way of life. But since then, the current group of people now in the country, we don't seem to even recognize what customs are in Liberia. And I can say for a fact there are many Liberians in this Morovia that don't even know the definition of what they call uncle in tradition, what they call uncle. For example, the Westerners will call their father's brother uncle, right? In my setting, my father's brother is not my uncle. My father's brother is my father. My uncle is my mother's brothers. All the male siblings of my mother are my uncles, and all my mother's sisters are my mothers. My father's sister or sisters are considered my uncle, my aunts. My father's brother are considered my fathers. That is just one of the typical cultural value that most Liberians will not even honor. They don't know because we have borrowed the Western style that says your uncle is your father's brother or your mother's brother. That's one thing that we see that I have identified as one of the gap we see between and amongst us as Liberians. So going back to the issue of rape, if like what I keep saying, if Liberian government, the Liberian governance system, sit around and call all the stakeholders to identify what do we call rape, how do we treat rape, and we'll all be on the same page. But one thing I know is that there's a group that says everything that comes from the interior is just negative. Somebody will tell you the traditional chiefs marry women at the age of 10, at the age of 11, at the age of 12 and 14. When I conducted a research some years back in Lofa Bong and Nima and spoke with some elders, both women and men, they would tell me that they told us in our research that a woman or a girl is prepared for marriage after they have graduated her from a Sunday, and she is identified by the women, elderly women, that this young girl is prepared for marriage, which means they have done all their own assessment of that lady, that based on her age, based on her experience, what they experience from her, what they are seeing her going through as a young woman, they will say this woman is prepared. I put not know age actually. I don't know they were able to identify how old are you, but they were able to identify how mature and prepared are you to get into sex. And the mothers were the one who would determine that their daughter is prepared for sex based on what they have gone through with that daughter and what they have experienced with her. Especially so if that daughter has graduated from the Sunday. You understand? Now, that is why I keep saying the traditional value taught to me as a male is that no, there should not be a day that I, as Johnny, or Johnny Quebri, should never force a woman to sex until that woman agrees with me. So if I'm forced on sex and that complaint comes that I was involved with a forceful sex with a woman, I'm going to be punished traditionally. So there is a gap. Somebody asked a question. So why you ask a question? So why is it now that the traditional people are considered that they are not in supporting the fight against gender-based violence? No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. The concept is that people want to enforce some message to the people. People must play a part. If they must play a part, they must be part of the discussion to identify the way forward, to identify the solution to the problem. But if you just sit in Morovia and decide, look, I'm going to tell people in Grand that this is the law, you must do this thing, they say, okay, we hear your law. Come enforce it. If you want the law to be enforced, people got to be involved with the law that you want to make, or whatever regulation you got to make for them. But I will disagree with people that just say that the traditional people are the one who don't respect, they don't respect women, they violate women, they take women at the age of 13, at the age of 12, they get married. Right now, all the young girls in Monrovia that are pregnant in Monrovia go to GFK. Are they married to traditional women, to traditional men? All the young girls you find around in Monrovia, I don't say anywhere, but in Monrovia, that are going to GFK, all the hospitals around here that are around the age of 13, 14, 15, pregnant to going to these hospitals. Are they impacted by traditional men? No. Right in Monrovia, by their own teenagers, their own modern men in the city. So the issue is not about traditional people are the one that are involved with violence against women. The issue is the governance system, gender ministry, the Ministry of Justice, and the legislators. We must come around and discuss the issue and find a common ground to address this problem and find a lasting and sustainable solution to the problem that will be endorsed by everyone, all stakeholders. Other than that, we keep setting blame and we're not going anywhere with the process.
Priscilla, are you muted? Priscilla, we can hear you. Minister, are you okay? You can go ahead, Minister, and say something.
I'm okay now because I had to switch to my phone,
All
which
right.
I believe is okay. And can you hear me?
Yeah. So go ahead and give your input on the rape, the whole SGBV,
Okay,
the gender ministry,
okay. I
what's been
believe
doing,
I
how
have
far is
a
the
ton of
roadmap?
questions
Yeah. Let's
to
start with
answer. The
the
first one
roadmap.
being, what is our achievement
Yeah.
since rape was declared national emergency?
Correct.
And I want to start with the issue of the data. Firstly, in 2020, and there was a huge outcry, especially during the time when the COVID was also declared national emergency, and children had to leave home, and then were stuck home with their abusers. A lot of people were home and on the Facebook, so the issue of reporting went way up. There was a heightened reporting when it comes to rape. Therefore, we all felt, the issue of rape was higher than it have ever been in the history of our country, which was not actually the case. The issue of reporting was higher than the actual case. In 2019, we had 2,708 cases of GBV. That includes persistent non-support, rape, and everything else. And then in 2020, during the time when we felt the rape cases were really high, we had 2,240 cases, meaning 2019 was higher than 2020. And in 2021, the total number of cases that we had for 2021, and this includes sodomy, sexual assault, sexual harassment, abuse, including, rape, is 1,761. This means they, when you look at the data, the analysis from the data, it means we had a drop in the number of cases that were reported as compared to 2019 and 2020. Moving on to what we have done since rape was declared national emergency. The first thing that happened was, and that the Ministry of Gender, the protocol way from the government of Liberia came in, and the president himself was presiding over these different processes, and they committed to giving $6 million to the fight against SGBV. However, they delayed. There was a huge delay in the timeline of receiving the funds. So we have received so far the first 200,000, then 315,000, which is equivalent to 515,000 that the Ministry of Gender had received for the fight against SGBV within our country. So out of that money, we're able to purchase 4 vehicles, and the women and children, we gave them a vehicle along with 10 motorbikes. Then we order funding to be able to facilitate their operations. And then we're able to allot some money to the Ministry of Health. But apart from this money, the government had already given the Ministry of Health some money to purchase DNA machine that will, help us to tie the perpetrators to the crime. Because most of the time you grab the perpetrators, they are saying, it's not me, it's not me. And the places where this kind of crime occurred, there will be no witnesses. No man is going to be going to rape a child and he called witnesses. So most times it's the survivor's word against the rapist's word. So the issue of the DNA machine became key because it's actually going to help the government of Liberia tie the perpetrator to the crime and even facilitate the issue of processing time, especially when it
Can you hear
comes
me now?
from the level of justices,
Yes.
Thanks.
the Ministry of Justice. And then we opened the 116 call center. Apart from the vehicle we gave to the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Gender purchased 3 vehicles that will help us respond timely when these cases are reported, and also do follow up on the cases, including providing the whole psychosocial packages to our survivors. We also opened the 116 call center that was launched by the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia. And the 116 call center is the SGBV call center, and the number is 116, a toll-free line on SECOM. And the number is 116, where communities can easily report, someone can easily report compromises, either from the community, from the level of the parents, from the school, even including our own government officials. Anyone can call. You can stay in the comfort of your home and you just call to report those cases. The ministry was able to purchase vehicle and we are able to go there and respond timely. There was also the issue of massive awareness launched in two counties, Maigibi and Mosurado, and were able to get the Crusader of Peace under the MCC collaboration, because during the COVID, they had this group of young people in the community called active case finders. And those people, during the time of the COVID, those people will go wherever they see, someone that looked like they got COVID or someone who was sick. They will call the police, they will call the health ministry staff, and they will go there, take those people in and then do checkup. So we thought to use that same existing structure to be able to have them reporting the issue of SGBV. So we also gave them some money in the Crusader of Peace through Madam Andy and the team from MCC. They were very instrumental in going to different communities and raising awareness. We also have the jingles and babos up also as a form of raising awareness, and also a form of giving information to the public about our 116 number. As we stand, we are expecting 1 million, and this 1 million is to be used to continue the different activities under the implementation of the national SGBV roadmap. The 1 million has not yet come, but we are hoping that we can get that 1 million. And the thing is, this was just a pilot project, and it should be closing September of this year. So we are hoping to have that 1 million where we can now come and say, under the roadmap, what did we achieve? We can now report and say this could be a best practice that we can continue as, a government of Liberia.
Thank you, Madam Minister, for the information. So, if you want, Dennis, for us to go to the comments, I see some comments there, so that our viewers can feel a part of the program. One of them, I think, is addressing some response that Johnny gave. And Johnny is when you were talking about. So Dennis can put it up there. So I think it's a pushback to something you said about by the time girls reach 18, the elders decide, oh, it's time for her to get married. And I had to follow up to that journey.
Yeah.
So because you initially have mentioned how economic disparity is a huge contributing factor. So
Yes.
now I'm thinking, and then at the age of 18, you marry a girl out. You marry a girl off. What purpose? What are you trying to achieve? And I know from listening to you before is that that's their way of trying to curtail it's a rape or trying to protect this girl, right?
Yeah. So
That's
let me yeah,
go ahead.
consider.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So like you see, okay, let me try to be a little bit more slower to make my point so that it don't get misunderstood. When I speak here, I give you a cultural context as it was some years back, as compared to what is happening now. Now, currently, even the practice of giving girls out now to men or to husband in Liberia, it's not as it was some 50 or 100 years back in our traditional setting. Because almost all our communities are getting like exposed to what should I say, to modern life. You understand? So I don't see right now in the current reality where we are, where traditional men are marrying their daughters all to men in the community because traditional practices. I mean, everybody kind of free. Everybody's interested in even sending their girls to school. You go to the interior, people who did not go to school are interested in sending their girls to school. But let's look at this reality. All the young girls at the age of 16, 17 in Monrovia, let's leave the interior in Monrovia that are pregnant. Who got them pregnant? Are they impregnated by traditional men? No. You understand? So even the traditional practice of giving daughters their girls out now is not as prevalent as it was some years back, like maybe 50 years back or so. It's not as prevalent as it is. Even you go Buchanan City, you go to Banga City, you go to Ganta, you go to Sanikole, go to Saclay-Pierre, go to Zredru, go to Harper, go to Plibo. See, Plibo, that's an open place, that's an open modern place. Go there and see girls at the age of 13, 14, 15, pregnant, going to the hospital to get treated. Most of them are not they are not impregnated by traditional men. They are impregnated by the same modern young men, age 25, age 30, age 40, right there in the same town, right in Monrovia. So maybe somebody did not understand me, so they are saying I'm being dishonest. I'm not being dishonest. I'm telling you what the culture has been and what is happening now. And that is where I tell most people, a lot of us here try to portray what we understand within the context of where we are right now, whether we are in some Western society or in urban Liberia. If you have had the experience of living in a typical rural community, you have a different understanding of what I'm saying compared to those who have the experience of growing up in Monrovia.
Can I say, yeah, so I think, so that was then, but we're talking about now. How can we be able to combine? How can we marry? Because what I got from you is that we're doing away with our culture. We're doing away with our traditional value. So you believe that there are value system in our tradition that we should hold on to. Which are them? Which one
Yes,
are
so
them? Because if we go by what was happening in the past where girls were being married off at the age of 18, um, then that I think that's what this person was responding to, that so they were doing it without her consent, because what if she wanted to pursue her education? Why is she being married off? So that also feeds into economic inequality, because
exactly.
so you see the reason why now later on you find that those women will resort to so making all those kind of things where people trying to empower them economically because you didn't give her a chance, just because you and the traditional people may have had good intentions, but the intention was like just negotiating with the patriarchy. Say, let's marry her to protect her so that these men don't take advantage. But rather, should the scrutiny not be on the men who shouldn't take advantage out of on a woman of a woman, whether she's married off or not. Now, coming to your point about 14 and 13 years old, and you said let's all not point fingers. So I just want to remind you back. We're not sure whether it's traditional men or it's modern men. The point is that women are at a disadvantage. So
Exactly.
they become impregnated, like you say. It is men who are impregnating them. What can we do to address this social issue? And it
All right.
could be because that is another conversation that I intend to have with the Ministry of Health, the LGBT unit. It could also be, can we work with girls to make contraceptive available, to make sex education, healthy sex education, a part of our curriculum, so that at the end of the day, when girls get taken advantage of or they engage sexually, so that they do not, you know, um, it doesn't result to unplanned parenting, unplanned pregnancy.
Exactly.
Because if we're going to be honest, I think that's what that person is trying to say. If we're going to be honest and not point blame, girls are sexualized from a very young age. We have a highly sexualized society now. So a 14-year-old doesn't impregnate herself. She
Of course.
doesn't start sex herself. It's a bigger guy or a guy who gets around her. But because she's the one who carried forth the pregnancy, so it's her that is exposed. So let's start moving a spotlight on girls. That's what I would think. Start concentrating the spotlight on the girls, making it seem like they are the ones who are not serious. They are wayward. They becoming pregnant at the age of 12, 13. What are they doing getting pregnant? Yes, who impregnating them? It's a society and environment that feeds, that makes it okay for them to get pregnant at an early age. So how can we as a nation, what are the different options we can look at to tackle this social issue?
Okay.
So that's
So,
why that's why we're asking from the traditional aspect. Do you
all
think?
right.
What do you think? Yeah, we can adapt from there.
So, let me just make something clear. The fact that in the old days they were giving out their girls at the early age of 15, 16, 17, because in fact the previous rape law said 16 years, right? And that was probably because they wanted to just make sure that they live within the context of what was on the ground. But currently in this country, from my experience working there around the 15 counties, most of the parents in the rural part of Liberia are interested in pushing their girls to go to school now. They don't have any more real interest into giving their girls up into early marriage. That's what I keep saying. Once we all are discussing the issue, we begin to identify. We all will have one direction
Exactly.
into get to the point. Our people
Yeah.
are getting to know the value of having their girls go to school and get educated instead of giving their girls all at the age of 14, 15, 18 to marriage. They realized that was probably not the right way to go. Let me give you one example. My mother tells me that because my grandfather had a lot of girls, and his first of the children were all girls. My mother is the first child of my grandfather. I think my grandfather had like about 5 girls before even having the firstborn. So in Lofa, among his brothers had a lot of boys, a lot of girls too. But my grandfather was interested in sending his girls to school. And I was told by my mother that because of that, my grandfather's brother went against my grandfather for many, many years. They in fact tried to disconnect from him because he was undoing what they thought he would do, meaning that as soon as the girls graduate from Sunday, send them to marriage. But my grandfather idea was as soon as in fact they were in school before going to the Sunday. So when you graduate from the Sunday, he said how to go to school. So because it was hard for him to keep them with him in Lofa, he had to send them to Morovia with friends and relatives to stay with them to go to school because his interest was for his girls to go to school, right? So if that began to come from the days of the 50s, 40s and 50s up to now, that means that our society right now is open to even work towards helping to protect our girls. So my idea is that the national government should try, like I said initially, to make this thing a national stakeholder discussion. We should not just say that the people in the interior people, they are the one that don't want to accept and do the change, or they are the one that are doing the wrong thing. That's my argument. If we do that, then we're not
Okay.
succeeding. Let's bring all of us.
Okay.
Let's bring all of us on the table, and they will tell you how they are support the process.
Okay.
I remember we had a
I get
conference
it.
in Banga about a few years back on the same rape issue, right in Banga. Women came from 15 countries, women and men, traditional men, women, they came up. They in fact came up with a resolution that anyone caught into the act of rape, that person should be conscripted. I mean, or I call it, I got the word going out of my head. They made some very harsh decisions to the point that UN even said that it was against human rights protection. So I'm telling you, the issue of rape is a serious offense in a traditional setting. Of course, they did marriage way back, years back. They married girls 13, 14, 15, way back. That was 100 years back. But currently, it's not happening. They don't want to do it. All they want to do is just make them part of the system, invite them and say, look, these are the issues we face with women. How can we help to protect our women, protect our girls, to give them economic empowerment, to get them educational support, to get them health support, to go ahead? Every
Okay.
parent, every man, every traditional man in Liberia, in the 15 countries among the 16 ethnic groups, they want to see their girls doing better. Especially so
Thank
when Manasali became president, it was a real challenge for most of the families in Liberia. That in as much as Ellen can become president for the country, and we're going through all the struggle she went through, we will encourage our girls, they will go to school and they will learn, and tomorrow they'll be supportive. Before I close, my late grandmother used to watch television with me in Morovia. Many times she see Madam Sally on the television, she will just fold her arm like that. I said, what happened, Grandma? She said, hey, God, if I had gone to school.
you. See.
You understand? I'm telling you, yeah. She said, Johnny, if I had gone to school, they didn't want talking here. I can talk more than her. I can do it more
Yeah.
than her. Yes.
Yeah, so
One of them,
it's like
was done
options
with
were
graduate.
taken away.
Yeah, of
I
course.
agree.
Those
Yeah.
things
So
were
it's like
done other
options
years
were
back. They
not
were the wrong
provided.
thing.
Sorry, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm saying every time she sees Madam Sally on the television and they're speaking at her and she'll say, yeah, say Johnny, if you know one day one story, one was about Lofa again, one thing I'll tell you one story. During the regime of President, I think it was President Tubman or Barclay, they had a forced education, compulsory education. If you see how most of the men from Lofa got educated through the chiefs, my grandmother said some parents used to go to the chief and say, please send your boys to go to school for me, so my dad can go for my child. I'll wait for you on your farm.
Okay,
You
let's
imagine that?
take let's engage the minister to ask us. So Johnny, I got your point. Your point is that we should engage with the traditional practice, I mean our traditional leaders in a healthy way so that we can all brainstorm on creating a shift in our culture for gender balance. Now, Madam Minister, what do you think? What is your perspective on this suggestion by Johnny? How can we contribute to a shift in our time so that the next generation cannot have this level of gender disparity and inequality? Because I believe there's gender disparity and inequality that feeds into SGBV at this level. But when we begin to see ourselves as equal, men will be able to treat women equally. Then, we will have, even if not completely eradicate, but we will have minimized this level of SGBV. And I must acknowledge and appreciate you for the level of work you're doing. That the rate that we thought we had kind of reduced because the Ministry of Gender and other partners are working to curtail this, but it's still happening. The thing about it is most of it seems to be a reflection of certain areas like Grand Gides Wedru, like Monrovia, like places we can reach. But what's about other isolated places in the same Grand Gide? What's about places like the mining sectors? What's about places beyond Gorbag? We don't know what is happening in those areas. So in as much as we celebrate how much progress is being made in certain areas, how can we work together in the next 5 years to make sure there is a shift to a higher level?
Well, I want to agree with the Johnny to some extent, and that's exactly what the Ministry of Gender have been doing. The issue of FGM is also a form of GBV, so violence against women. So under this roadmap, during the time of this roadmap, and even before the time of this roadmap, our partners from UN Women and other UN entities have engaged us, to find a way to eradicate FGM within our country. And when my minister had just taken over, she told them that it's not abrupt. It doesn't happen abruptly. This requires constant engagement. This requires bringing our traditional people to the table and having the conversation about these issues. Before now, you cannot even come and tell anybody about FGM. People will start throwing some, people will start talking. You cannot talk openly about these issues. But because of the constant engagement that government have been doing with our traditional people today, you see, council of elders, traditional chiefs, and everyone, we are all on the table and even calling names of things that people do within those areas, things that we never even used to talk about before. However, during this period, we have been engaging them. The first time was for us to be able to stop the issue of FGM within our country for 1 year. But then during this period where rape was declared national emergency, we engaged them more, and we were able to have them to sign a resolution stopping the issue of SGM within our country for 3 years. And that did not happen because we instructed them, because the government used its power and say, as of today, we don't want to see it It happened because we brought them on the table. We all communicated with each other. We engaged each other, and were able to come up with, our own side, what is good, what is wrong, and we all understood what we should do and agreed as a team, and were able to have that as a success story today, that FGM has been abolished in our country for 3 years. Between now and 3 years, it is our hope that we'll continue to engage them, making them to take the lead, because this is something that affects them. This has been a way of life. There's something that's deeply rooted within the society, the culture of our country. It's not a tree that you can uproot today. You say you take it and burn it for coal. This is something that you have to continuously engage and see how we can, stop. When it comes to the issue of SGBV within the counties, especially those hard to reach areas, I agree. There are some areas where, so even from police station, you have to walk like 2 days. There are some counties that still do not even have, a safe home or a one-stop center, something which under this roadmap we are, revamping safe home and then opening one-stop centers and safe home to areas where they are not. But what we do is we depend again on the community. We have group of people within the various communities, especially in those hard-to-reach areas, that are called observatories or CWC. CWC is our community welfare committees. These are volunteers and community leaders that we trained and talked to on how they can report SGBV cases. Well, it's not just to report SGBV cases, but to train them so they become trainers of trainer, where they can train other community members and tell them, what is right and what is wrong. But this is the problem. The problem is the system, and it's a system that we all have to fight to correct. And that's why under this roadmap, we are working along with the Law Reform Commission to be able to look at our laws. When it comes to the law, we have like a hybrid law, a dual system, dual legal system. For example, under the customary laws, that marrying a 16-year-old girl is acceptable and they stay within the laws. And then under our laws, you say, under the rape law, you say a child under 16 cannot get married, or a child under 18 cannot get married. Statutorily, they must be 18 and above, where they are able to give consent. So you see that the laws are, combating each other, which should not be. You understand it? A law should be straight. When we say this, it becomes this. So we have to be able to look at that law and be able to reform the law. There are times, so many times, we've gone in the field and we, arrested. There was a girl who was getting married, and she called and she told us that she didn't want to get married, and her father was forcing her when she was 16. She was almost 17. And we told them that they can get married. And people said no. They've been married at children at 16 before, and there was no comment. And this is something that's acceptable. Why are we coming in now? We have to call them, get the big Imam Krai to come. We all sat on the table, around the table. We explain ourselves. The Imam explained to them, and then they say, but these things, we don't know it yet. You need to be able to work with our, religious leaders. So at least as they are teaching us in the different, mosques and religious area, they can also talk about these things so that we know about it more. So sometimes these things happen out of ignorance, and that's where, I agree with him more, that we need to engage more and we need to heighten the issue of awareness around these issues, or else we keep making the same mistake over and over. Like the Ministry of Gender will always say, we cannot do this alone. How many social workers do we have? We have like 64 social workers for the entire country, and it's low. It's so low. So we depend more on our partners, especially the local NGOs that work within the various counties, to be able to help us and the community as well. So for the community to be effective and efficient, they need to be educated, and the awareness have to go out and wide across the entire country, so people know what they should do, what they can do, and if something happens, how can they report, and how to access the various services that the Ministry of Gender and its partners provides.
Minister, thank you. I think that was exhaustive. Thank you to the both of you. And there are a lot of really great points that we were able to raise, flag out, and then at least we have a point of agreement that there needs to be more collaboration, between what we consider traditional culture and modern, way of life, like the issue about the customary law and our other law conflicting. And I was going to even raise that with Councillor George, because he had argued before that, well, the rape law automatically renders the customary law null and void because the rape law is the latest and it supersedes. But like you said, how does the traditional person, the imam, or our traditional elders, how do they know? You can't just assume that they will know. There has to be engagement. There has to be some level of education. So, as you are pointing out those things, somebody said earlier, I think it was Johnny, it's okay to have this kind of conversation. So we can say, oh no, we shouldn't just continue to talk and talk. Let's do something. These kind of conversations are okay. But what much more is better is, as we have these kind of conversations and we identify these issues, let's go beyond just having them, and let's try to start acting on them. So hopefully, Madam Minister, when you go back, we are hoping, if you were thinking in that direction, that it will be something that you will pursue more actively to engage traditional communities so that we can have a collaborative effort. We want a new day in our lives as women, as girls. We want a new day in Liberia when it comes to the issue of SGBV and gender justice. Yeah, thank you so much. Before we end, I'm going to ask you, Johnny, if you have any parting comments. But let me check with Dennis whether there are more comments he wanted to read before each of you give your parting comments. Dennis, is there anything any web has us cultural component? What's about our tribal men marrying underage girls? Yeah, the minister just explain that sexual violence has psychological, emotional, and physical effects on a survivor. That's true. That's true. Sexual violence, perpetrators of sexual violence should be persecuted. Exactly. Yep. My mother was married to my father when she was about 13. Can you imagine? The measuring criterion was when she had a full breast. My mother had no choice as her child. Exactly, Jerome. That's why we share with Johnny. And he also even gave an example of his mother, a grandmother who saw Ellie and was like, you see, so those kind of decisions took away from girls a lot options, because a girl may not want to get married. She wants so marriage is not an ultimate, like it's not what we should strive for. And I know that's what they had to work with at the time, and that is called negotiating with the patriarchy. But it's about time that we say we want a new day. We want a space where we can have equal opportunity to decide for ourselves, so that if I don't want to get married, doesn't give anyone the right to defy me. So others cannot say they're trying to protect me from assault or from bad men by marrying me off. No, there should it should the responsibility should be placed on the person who cannot control himself much more than any normal human being. I don't know. I hope I'm making sense, like you, right? So anyway, Johnny, if you want to go on and just give your parting comment, then the minister will be the last.
All
I
right.
think
So
we lost Councillor. I think we lost Councillor Josh. He was trying to come on, but I think we lost him.
yeah, okay. So thank you, and I mean, I keep seeing a message from Jerome that I'm being dishonest. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you could just tell me where the dishonesty. Maybe you're not answering the conversation correctly. I'm giving you a background where we come from as a people culturally, and some of the things that happened that today we must work together to change as a group. And my point has been, we should not just throw the ball against one sector of the population that they are the one that don't want to follow the rules or don't want to do the right thing. I'm saying they are also prepared to do the right thing. They are now involved more into pushing girls to education other than pushing girls for marriage. Now, the situation that the minister explained, that's a religious practice. That's not traditional matter. That's not a traditional issue. That's the religious matter within some sector that says that you can marry at this age. Besides that, I want to say here that we all of us, need to try to even work with families. You know, the family is the first unit of society. Today, in Morovia, modern Liberians, parents are even putting words into their girls' ear. What you doing? You're in the household, you get married, you get married now. It's not traditional matter anymore. Right in Morovia here, there are girls that are out of college, that have college degree, but they are living their life the way they want to live it. They are under pressure by their parents, their peers. When getting married, isn't that another violence against women? Girls, women themselves commit violence against their fellow girls, fellow women. So now I'm saying this is not just a one set of discussion. It's a discussion for all of us from all angles. From all angles. Let's look at the family value. Families, why are you pushing your girls to get married so early? It's not just traditional family now, but modern families in Morovia. Oh, you now reach 20 years old now, you out of college now, go and get married. Then this all you gotta do for the girl, educate her, give her the best, let her have the mind to think critically and know who to make her partner, who she want to be partner with in her life. Start putting things in the girl's ear that oh, you're too big now, time to get married now. No. What you be telling the girl is go to school, learn this career, go to this, like my daughter myself. Right now she's doing environmental science. I said, look, can you look online? There are some issues. Let's do something more. Environmental economics, environmental RT. I'm not discussing with her whether she's getting married or not. That's my worry. My worry is giving her quality. So that when she decides to marry, she and that person will sit down and will discuss lengthily, equally as partners, not just as one husband and wife, but as partners discussing issues for their growth and development. That is why I want to push us now, Liberian families. Let's begin to talk more about educating our girls, our children, so that they will have the equal and open mind to think critically, to know who will be their partner and who they want to live with, how they want to live their life. Other than pushing our girls to, oh, you're too big now, you can't be in the home with me all the time, you gotta get married, you gotta find your man, then you talk to the boys too, you gotta find man, woman to marry, you can pass it around. No, give them education. My concern here is let's give our young people education, let them have a sound mind, let them have critical mind to decide who will be their partner in life. Once we do that, we are moving ahead to address the issue of rape, gender-based violence will begin to get addressed. In as much as we don't push education, we don't push economic empowerment, economic equality, we keep discussing the issue of rape because one group have the advantage, they have economic power, and once you get economic power, you will influence the decision of those who don't have the economic power. So we will do that more like this. So my brother Jerome, please, I'm not dishonest. I'm giving you a feedback of where we come from as a nation and where we are right now and what we should do to move forward. That my sister say a new day, right? And this new day means we all need to get equal access to education, to wealth. When that happens, the issue of rape will be minimized or more or less discouraged or non-existent. So thank you. I'm always waiting to get involved with this conversation. And like I said to you already, I was raised by women. So I have a lot of passion for women. I was raised, my mother was young when she had me. I'm sure she was around the age 17 or 18 when she had me. And she has 6 children. We know we have lost one. We have 5 now. But we are all doing well. We are all doing well. And we are taking care of our mother. You know what I'm saying? And because she was young, she had to more or less allow me to stay with my grandmother because she was still going to school. We should not have those kind of things happening. What I went through, I don't want that happen to any girl or any child. Let the girl go to school, let she get educated. She began a full educated person, fully gainfully employed. She can make her own family. She will take care of her own family instead of having your child and let my mom take the child. No. Let's stop that attitude of the child must have the parents saying we want grandchild now. What is that? You keep putting the child on that kind of pressure, one grandchild, you make the child not to move forward in life. Grandchild will come when the time comes. You understand? I mean, grandmothers raised me. I'm proud of that, but I don't want that to happen to me and my children. And I hope everyone else will do the same. That don't let grandparents raise children for you. First of all, prepare your children, give them the full support so the day you're not around, they are independent to work for themselves and make their own decision for their life. So thank you very much, Priscilla. Like I said, I'm always available to join you on the conversation. I will bring whatever knowledge I have. I will not be guessing on anything. Whatever I say here is what I know, what I've heard, what I've experienced. So thank you. We sorry that the council is not on, because I think I know the council here and I have had some interaction with your in my GB as the county attorney. And the minister, thank you for coming. We are open to support you guys with any concept to work together in doing some things. In fact, for a matter of fact, recently I got a concept on the FGM issue, proposing a way to go forward with it. You know, FGM is a cultural issue, and to address it, you need to meet with the custodians of the culture. What I've observed, there are people that are pretending to be cultural people in Monrovia that are engaged with these international bodies, with these government offices for their own personal benefit. And they will come and pretend that they have spoken with the real people in the interior to put it under control. And I have proposed that the people who are involved with this thing must try, they must endeavor to meet with the custodians of these cultural values. When you meet with them, then you and them will discuss. They will tell you why they are doing this, what the value they got. It's all maybe around economics. So if it's about economic empowerment, how can we alternate, remove that aspect of the culture? And if we're getting benefit through economic means, how can we help them to get economic empowerment without doing FGM? You know, these are the issues we'll be talking about here. Because it might lead to economic empowerment, it might have some economic benefit for them. Because probably if you assemble 50 guests in the Sunday Bush, and every child must have some, parent must pay some money, like school. It's like a school. If the child go to school, you pay school fee, right? So if a child go to Sunday, he must pay fee to the Sunday. So if we must try to discuss the kind of matters, let's try to meet the actual custodians of the practice. You and them discuss the details, and then those details will be used now to develop policy that go about removing FGM from the cultural practices. And it is possible in as much as you meet with the right actors. When you meet with people who are pretending to be with you in Monrovia, I see that for sure in Monrovia. People pretend to go to our minister and say, "Oh, I'm the one in charge. I can do that. I can do this." And they go out and spend some days in the county with some awareness or some meeting and come by and say it's done. It is not done. I am deeply rooted within the cultural context of Liberia. I can tell you that for free. I know what's happening in Maryland. I know what's happening in Grangeda. I know what's happening in Lofa, in Cape Mount, in Bapuru. I know culturally. I know what's happening. I will tell you today there is a Sunday Bush going on here. Today there's a Proud Bush going on here. I'm deeply rooted. I know what's happening. People are pretending to be working with international bodies and government agencies that we are doing this, and back there, it's not happening. Yeah, things are still unfolding. So thank you for allowing me to be on the show, and I hope next time I will join you sooner than today.
Yeah, the points you raised, they are true. Based on my research, and yeah, except that there isn't really a solid one for Liberia, but I will assume that's the same thing I apply. The research that I have is based on Sierra Leone, and they just attribute it mainly to the economic factor. People do not want to lose the zoos. How they refer to them in Sierra Leone, I think it's the Bono that we call the Sunday, but they don't want to lose that economic lively income. And so at the end of the day, girls are victimized. I mean, you want to circumcise people, they say, let's do away with SGM. You say, well, we do away with it. I'm not going to get paid. So someone is scarred for the rest of their life just for you to get little fee, at a time. So I'm glad that our minister pointed out something really important. She said, we didn't just dictate to them, stop this. We let them own it. That's why you see we have 3 years, and then within the 3 years we'll work with them. So hopefully while they work with them, they will try to figure out other alternative means for which these elders can, find other livelihood to stop, victimizing little girls. I mean, for lack of better word, I don't mean to cast aspersion on our elders. I know the traditional practices have some really great aspects, but I ask of the SGBV, not SGBV, FGM. Hopefully we can find a way to resolve it so that everyone life can be human right can be respected and considered. So thank you so much, Tony. Madam Assistant Minister, do you want to give us your your parting comment.
Yes, I want to start by saying thank you so much for inviting me. And then that the issue of the traditional council and the religious council, we continue to work with them because we feel this issue requires continuous engagement. And then the issue about the economic factor, those are all issues, that came out of our discussion in with the traditional council. If this is stopped, what next? We have a very good success story here with the Mama Thomas village, wherein she get girls training them and they are doing other things. So that's something that the ministry want to buy into. But for us, we are not saying abolish FGM. We are saying let the girls reach the age of 18 and they themselves can say, yes, I want to get involved with FGM. So that today or tomorrow, when she's with her husband or her boyfriend, and he wants to raise issues, she can say, yes, this is my body, this is my culture. I chose this for myself, and I'm happy with who I am. If you don't want me, that's the door. You can use the door. But you don't want her in the not too distant future. She's like crying. She's regretting because, they forced her, or she was even a child. She didn't even know what happened. And then she have to be going through that lifetime, trauma. So from us, we are pushing more for, we don't want to stop here, but we want the girls to be 18 where they can consent and at least take, the control of their own decisions and or their actions. And then we're able to train the religious leaders quite recently in the issue of, our SGBV, and then talking about the law, also telling them that we have a new law, which is the rape law. Currently, we have two young women, very beautiful young women from the Muslim background who were forced to get married. They came, they ran to us. We call Imam Krai. The father told us, Imam Krai said he notified whatever wedding that went on because, the rape, blah, 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 blah. And then the father agreed that the children would get 18, they will go to school, blah. And so we let the children go with him. The next day, he bundled the children and put them in car and took them to Guinea. And those children stayed 1 year in Guinea. Quite recently, they ran away from Guinea. They came back to Liberia and they were at the ministry with their plastic bags. They said they couldn't bring clothes because, the treatment there was horrible. They don't want to get married and they're insisting that they want to go to school. So we had to call Imam Krai back in for us to start the engagement. The first time it happened, we went there with our entire police force. We went there, we took the girl. It was a big riot. They were throwing stones. One of our social workers got wounded in the process, and we managed to take the girl from there. It was a big deal in our country that, it was an attack on Islam. So this time around, we do not want it to come across as an attack. We want this to be a decision, consultation that we all can sit around the table and understand that, the law is the law and everybody can know what we can do and what we cannot do. And then the other issue is a lot of time people come to us to tell us, we allow pregnant girls who are under 16 to go to hospitals, and we do not go to the hospitals to arrest them. They always see, teenager 14, 15 going to the hospital, and the ministry and the government through the health ministry is aware, and we are not arresting. For instance, we should be there, arrest those girls, ask them who impregnated you, and then follow them to the home and then arrest the perpetrator and then bring them to justice. But the ministry cannot do that because we've consulted widely with all of our partners. And to do that, we means, we are solving a problem to create another problem. You cannot solve a problem to create another problem. If we set checkpoints at the various hospitals in across the country, that means to say those girls will refuse to come to hospital. The first thing, if that girl is pregnant or a parent had not reported, they are all already have agreed to compromise that case. So that means to say if we set up the checkpoint, they will not access the hospital. They will start dying in the house. Their parents will keep them inside. And then, at least some rape cases, people will live, but the child will die, the mother might die, and all those kind of things. So we do not want to create another problem just because we want to solve another problem. So we work mainly with the community. If you see that kind of case in the community, you just call 116 and we come and handle the case from the community. Then to use the hospital as a checkpoint where any child that come under 18, we arrest them. That's the other thing I wanted to raise, because those are issues that, under the national emergency, a lot of people have been asking us. Even the other time when we went to the upper house, they were asking us the same thing. Then there's also the issue of where men are saying women are passing on the street naked. One time I went to MIGAT to address, there was a press briefing there, and a journalist said, what is the Ministry of Gender doing for girls who are walking on the street naked? And I look at him and I said, I've never seen a naked woman walk on the street. I say, have you seen a naked woman? No, they're wearing. I say, no. I say, the problem is not the woman. The problem is your mind. I say, your mind is naked. You see people, daughters wearing their decent clothes and passing around, or young girls, teenager being just teenager and being girls, living their best life as girls. You say the child is naked or the woman is naked because your mind is naked. Your mind is the problem. So the woman dress code gives nobody right to go, and grab her and try to force her to have sex with her because she wore a clothes that, her thigh or skin is exposed. What happened to the young babies, those that are wearing pimples? Their pimples are also sexy. So it's the issue of the mind. It's not the clothes that people wear. So if you see a woman walking with her short trousers and you see her naked, it is your mind. You are sick. You need to be able to access, treatment or professional help. And you can call 116. The Ministry of Gender will also be able to connect you to professionals who can help you. But I've never seen a woman naked on the street, and women have the right to wear what they want to wear, what they want to feel comfortable in, and it gives you no right to harass them or grab them and rape them. And then the other thing I want to talk about, which I've already mentioned, is the issue of our 116 hotline. You can call the 116 not only for rape issue, for missing child, for trafficking, for maternal emergency, because what we do at the 116 is most of the time we place you in contact with service providers. There are a lot of times when people call, we don't know the ambulance number, we don't know the fire service number, and our transformer burning and all those kind of things. We help put them in touch with service provider in those kind of emergency. But meaning it's for SGBV, child protection, and maternal health. And then at this juncture, I want to stop here and say thank you so much to Priscilla and her entire team for inviting us. There is a lot that the ministry do outside of the SGBV, but the SGBV now is a national emergency, so we are all focused. But I hope we can have the time when you can invite us to talk about, other services on our child protection component, our family preservation, persistent non-support, adoption, especially for you from that side, the Western world. A lot of people call to ask us about adoption process. They don't understand, and it passes through the ministry. So we would love to have some time to discuss, other things that the ministry do outside of just, the SGBV. But thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Assistant Minister. So let me just tell you a little. This lady is a badass. I'm so sorry. I don't have another word, but I saw the news report where she sat and listened, and I'm going to invite her again another day for that. And she sat and listened to these people who came to compromise a rape case. And the lady, she arrested, and she called for them to be arrested. And that was just something that was so amazing. I was like, what kind of Liberian woman is this? And then she also was able to be a part of this rescue team recently that rescued some kids. And it was just amazing. So, the ministry is just doing some amazing things with the right people in proper places. I just believe that we'll get a new day. So I want to say Thank you to the minister. Look at the response. Just check the response you get, a journalist. You can call us and then we will help you, because it's just ridiculous that patriarchy has so conditioned us that we always transfer responsibility on victims instead of people who have their own issues. Trust me, that journalist may be a Jesus follower who maybe dresses up on Sunday afterwards, posts that he went to church, but he didn't see the place that Jesus said, if you only think it has been told you that if you sleep with a woman, that's adultery. But I tell you, if you think, because he was putting the responsibility right back on the men. And in that setting, women were fully dressed, they covered with their eyes, everything. They still got raped. So isn't really the issue about the woman dress, or is your issue? So that was just a great response. So thank you, Minister. Thank you so much for all the struggle with the devices, because her internet, later she told me her internet is great. So with all the device challenge, she was able to come and inform us about some of the things that's happening. Thank you. You're on the ground there doing all this amazing work. We hope to continue to engage, to listen to each other. That's what the Noondays platform on FOL is about. Sometimes, yeah, we'll disagree, but this is just for us to identify how we can move forward. We really want to change, not only in our country on the ground, but our country is in the diaspora. So this is for Liberians in North America, in Europe, everywhere. Some of these issues are issues that we've already been socialized by before we left the continent. So they also are happening in our communities in the diaspora, where people cover or rape, where domestic violence is an issue, but women are pressured not to call the law enforcers in this country because they get shamed to say, oh, they come to America, and then she called police on her fellow African and he has a record. So this is a place that we're going to be discussing those kind of things, so that we can rethink how we see gender relations. And John, that was one of the things you said, that people in Monrovia, they're still pressuring girls, and they do that because we all been socialized by our unhealthy culture. So you don't change just because you change your locality. It's something that you've been socialized, that is acceptable. That at the end of the day, marriage is your all and behold. So when you get married as a girl, then you take the shame from our face. But what's about when I got a master's? I didn't take shame from your face. What's about when I got my PhD? I didn't take shame from your face. So thank you. I don't want to pull you much more than we have held you. Thank you for staying on with us. And thanks to our viewers for staying on with us as well. It's a new day. Please be a part of it. A new day is dawning in our nation and across the globe. We need equality of all human beings. God keep us and have a happy new May. Goodbye.
Lord, you said in your word, I should forget, the former things. You said, behold, you are about to do a new thing. You said you will do something new in my life. All the eyes of them that see it will marvel. But my enemies to shame, Lord. Please give me a new day. Give me a new day. Give me a new day. I don't want yesterday. All I want is a new day. Yesterday broke my heart. Yesterday brought me peace and frustration. I don't want yesterday. All that I want is a new day.